And I just wanted your thoughts on Ilia Topuria vacating the featherweight title and coming up to lightweight. Do you think he's built for lightweight?
Yeah, I think he's a fighter, especially with the confidence that he has right now with those wins over Max and Volkanovski. I think, confidence is the biggest factor when you step in there. You have to believe.
Justin Gaethje finally getting his long-awaited title shot has fans fired up. Few fighters have given as much blood, sweat, and sheer entertainment as Gaethje, and now momentum is building behind the idea that his next walk to the octagon could be for UFC gold. With Michael Chiesa and others making the case, the question isn't whether Gaethje deserves it, it's whether the UFC will do right by him before his career window closes. At the same time, the middleweight division is heating up with Khamzat Chimaev's next opponent coming into focus. The undefeated phenom has made it clear he's hungry for legacy-defining fights, and the contenders are lining up fast. Rivalries, callouts, and timing all play a role here, but one thing is certain, whoever steps across the cage from Chimaev next will be facing one of the most dominant forces the sport has ever seen. Both storylines carry huge stakes: legacy, championships, and the future of two of MMA's most talked about fighters.
This is a very important fight. It's a huge fight. You're one of the most dangerous challengers to ever fight for a title. This is a huge moment for you. Tell us what tomorrow night means to you.
Just gonna go this boy up, one day.
Stick around, because these developments could shape UFC headlines for years to come. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss the latest MMA Desk news, breakdowns, and fight updates. Dana White set the MMA world on fire with what seemed like a simple Instagram post, and it shows just how much power his words hold over fans. Earlier in the day, he posted a picture of himself smoking a cigar with the caption, "I have a feeling today is going to be an incredible day." Instantly, the internet went crazy. People started speculating about all kinds of things. Was there going to be a huge fight announcement? Was Conor McGregor making a surprise comeback? Could it be a massive crossover event or a new arena reveal?
Dana, well, we're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not, Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. We're going to have a UFC fight, championship fight.
Within minutes, social media platforms were filled with theories and excitement. Fans who follow the sport closely know that Dana rarely posts something vague like that without a reason. They felt certain something big was about to be announced, but just a few hours later, Dana crushed all that hype. He came back online and admitted that he jumped the gun and that it was just going to be a regular day. No fight news, no shocking reveal, nothing. The whole thing left fans feeling both disappointed and a little amused. Some joked that Dana must have just been in a good mood while smoking his cigar, while others felt let down because the UFC boss basically teased everyone without delivering. This moment shows how much the MMA community hangs on Dana's every word. Even a casual post can create waves and dominate the headlines. It's proof that when Dana talks, people listen and they expect big things. And when he doesn't deliver, the reaction is just as loud. It might not have been his plan to stir the pot that much, but whether on purpose or not, Dana reminded everyone of the influence he has over the sport and how quickly fans are ready to believe that history is being made at any given moment.
The takedowns and the wrestling game weren't necessarily working in the first fight. Would you say that your wrestling was off, or was his takedown defense better than you expected?
To be honest with you, I went through a lot when I was fighting for the title. That training camp was terrible. I couldn't wrestle for the most part.
Things got heated between Alex Pereira and Magomed-Ankalaev, and it wasn't even inside the octagon. Pereira shared a story on his YouTube channel that painted Ankalaev in a very embarrassing light. According to Pereira, the two of them crossed paths at the UFC Performance Institute, but instead of a simple greeting or even ignoring each other, Pereira said Ankalaev practically ran away. He claimed that as soon as Ankalaev saw him walking over, he ducked into a small room to avoid a confrontation, almost as if he was hiding. Pereira mocked him for this behavior and said it showed weakness, fear, and a lack of warrior spirit. He didn't hold back, calling Ankalaev a horrible champion and even a disgrace to the sport. He went further and said that when they fight again, Ankalaev might actually climb out of the cage and run away mid-fight, rather than stand and trade punches like a true fighter.
То же самое, не нужно словами бросаться, мы ожидаем, что это октября будет. Давайте сделаем это в ринге. Зачем говорить пустые слова?
Ele falou, cara, na verdade a gente vai lutar no dia 4 de outubro, a gente não tem que trocar.
This kind of talk isn't just light trash talk, it was sharp, direct, and meant to sting. Pereira wants to make sure everyone knows he sees Ankalaev as undeserving of the belt. And the timing of this is key, because they are set to face each other in a rematch. For Pereira, this isn't just about getting his title back, it's about exposing Ankalaev to the world. It's about proving that Ankalaev doesn't have the grit to stand at the top of the division. On the other hand, Ankalaev has already said that this time will be different. He doesn't want the fight to go to the judges, and he has promised to finish Pereira decisively. Both men are treating this like it's personal, and that kind of energy makes for a high-stakes fight. With the rematch coming in October, the tension is growing, and both fighters are determined not just to win, but to humiliate the other in front of the world. Pereira's insults toward Ankalaev show just how serious this rivalry has become.
Hey brother, sorry my brother. It's okay. It is what it is.
It's not simply about fighting anymore, it's about pride, respect, and proving who belongs at the very top. Pereira has been to the top before, and losing the belt only made him hungrier to get it back. His confidence is sky high, and his words carry the weight of someone who believes he can break his opponent mentally before they even step inside the cage. He described Ankalaev as someone who lacks heart, toughness, and fighting spirit, which are the qualities fans expect from a champion. By saying that Ankalaev would run away during the fight, Pereira is trying to embarrass him publicly, planting seeds of doubt in the minds of fans and maybe even in Ankalaev himself. This is psychological warfare as much as it is a battle of fists and kicks. Meanwhile, Ankalaev has his own pride at stake.
The training camp, I was battling a lot of injuries, and there was a lot of reasons, you know. Also, I told my coach right away during the rounds that I felt like he was greased. He was just too slippery, you know. And these things happen in professional sport. I'm not accusing him of anything, but that's just what
He knows that people criticized his slow rise to the belt, and he doesn't want anyone to think he doesn't deserve it. The fact that Pereira is attacking his courage makes this even more personal. For Ankalaev, it's about showing he can silence the critics and prove that he belongs as champion. This rivalry is now one of the most heated in the division. Both men aren't satisfied with just winning, they want to destroy the other's reputation. Pereira wants to make Ankalaev look like a fraud, and Ankalaev wants to prove that Pereira is all talk. This creates a dangerous situation where both fighters will push themselves to the edge, making this rematch one of the most anticipated showdowns of the year. When October arrives, the Octagon won't just be hosting a fight, it will be hosting a war for pride, legacy, and the right to be called champion. Another rising storyline in the UFC revolves around a Dutch fighter who has his eyes firmly locked on Khamzat Chimaev's middleweight championship. Originally, he was supposed to fight Anthony Hernandez, but an injury forced him to step away from that matchup. The UFC quickly replaced him with Brendan Allen, who will now headline in Vancouver on October 18. But even though the Dutch fighter is recovering, he hasn't slowed down on his ambition. He's making it clear that he wants Chimaev's belt, and he wants the opportunity before the holy month of Ramadan. His reasoning is simple: timing. He wants to fight now, not later, because Ramadan will keep him out of competition for a while. His sense of urgency is obvious. He's telling the UFC that if Chimaev wants to fight before Ramadan, he is ready and willing to step in. This makes things tricky for UFC matchmakers, because there's another contender, Nassourdine Imavov, who is also near the front of the line for a title shot. Both men are strong fighters with momentum, but only one can get the next opportunity. This creates a brewing rivalry between them. The Dutch fighter has even said that he doesn't want to wait, he wants to line up for a fight with Chimaev immediately. The UFC, for their part, wanted to keep him active and on the Vancouver card, so everything lined up for him to have that chance to show he deserves the next big fight. His confidence is undeniable, and his hunger makes him a dangerous contender for Chimaev's reign. While contenders line up, Khamzat Chimaev has made it clear that he's ready for anyone and everyone.
It's like, I get this. He get this. Here it comes.
He's already talking about fighting at a potential UFC event at the White House, which would be one of the biggest events in MMA history. His wrestling and grappling have proven to be almost unstoppable. Time and again, opponents have stepped into the cage thinking they can handle him, only to be completely overwhelmed. For anyone to beat him, they need world-class wrestling and the ability to stay composed under his relentless pressure. That's why his fights are so interesting. Fans want to see if anyone can actually stop him. Beyond defending his belt, Chimaev has much bigger goals. He doesn't just want to hold the middleweight championship. He wants to become a 3-division world champion, which is something no one in the history of the sport has ever done. That ambition makes every possible matchup with him more exciting. Imagine him taking on fighters from light heavyweight or even heavyweight, trying to carve out a legacy that no one can match. There's even talk that someone like Pereira-Ankalaev, who has a different style, could be one of the few capable of standing up to Chimaev's pressure. That's why people are so eager to see who he fights next. Whoever it is, they'll be stepping into the cage with one of the most dominant forces MMA has ever seen. For now, the Dutch contender is shouting his intentions the loudest. He wants the belt, he wants Chimaev, and he wants it before Ramadan. If he can prove himself in Vancouver, he might just force the UFC to give him exactly what he's asking for. Not everyone is thrilled about some of the UFC's matchmaking though. Chael Sonnen, never one to stay quiet, gave his take on the upcoming Pereira vs. Ankalaev rematch, and he didn't hold back. Sonnen argued that nobody asked for the first fight, and certainly nobody asked for the second one. He explained that when the UFC booked Pereira and Ankalaev the first time, it was only because they had no other options. The division was in a strange spot, and the UFC felt like their hands were tied. Sonnen said they tried everything else before finally putting those two together, and now, with the rematch scheduled, Sonnen feels like history is repeating itself. He believes the UFC is once again forcing a storyline that doesn't really exist. In his eyes, this rematch doesn't have genuine fan demand behind it, and it feels strange to invest so heavily in a rivalry that doesn't truly have fire. Sonnen also pointed out the problems this could create.
I spar every day, I train every day. You could feel when people are slippery. It's too much slippery. So I felt he was too greasy, you know? And that played a role also.
If Pereira wins back the belt, it sets up a trilogy fight, which means the UFC might be stuck booking 3 fights in a row between 2 fighters that, according to him, fans never really wanted in the first place. On the flip side, if Ankalaev wins again, Pereira might not get another shot, which would leave him in limbo. Sonnen thinks this shows how complicated matchmaking can be. Sometimes fights are made because fans are demanding them, like with huge rivalries or super fights, but other times, fights are made simply because there are no better alternatives. This, he argues, is one of those times. Whether fans agree with Sonnen or not, the fact remains that Pereira vs. Ankalaev 2 is happening, and depending on how it plays out, there could even be a third. For Sonnen, that feels unnecessary, but for the UFC, it might be the only path they see right now. When it comes to Justin Gaethje, though, there's no shortage of demand, and Michael Chiesa made sure to speak up about it. In his eyes, Gaethje deserves the next title shot more than anyone. Ever since Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira to win the belt, fans and analysts have been debating who should be next. Topuria himself has said he wants to fight Paddy Pimblett, brushing off Gaethje as someone the fans don't want to see, but Chiesa strongly disagrees. He argued that Gaethje isn't just a fighter, he's a fan favorite who has sacrificed more than most for the sport. According to Chiesa, the timing tells its own story. If Topuria was going to fight in December, the UFC would have already announced it. That likely means we won't see him defend until early 2026. And when that time comes, Chiesa says Gaethje has to be the man standing across from him. Rumors about Paddy Pimblett keep floating around, but Chiesa believes Gaethje makes much more sense. Not only is it a tough stylistic matchup for Topuria, but it's also a fight that rewards Gaethje for years of sacrifice. Chiesa reminded people that Gaethje took huge risks, like his fight with Max Holloway. Nobody knows if the UFC promised him something in return for taking that gamble, but Chiesa insists it doesn't matter. What matters is that Gaethje has given his health, his body, and his career to entertain fans.
Yeah, just one more for you, Justin. Obviously a super interesting time at lightweight right now, a lot going on. This fight will impact things too. Where do you feel you stand? I know you made it clear you wanted a title shot. Are you confident that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fight that I want. You know, obviously I'm biased. I'm going to fight for what I feel like I deserve.
He's bled, he's fought through pain, and he's delivered unforgettable moments. That, Chiesa says, is what earns him the right to fight for gold. The argument goes even further. Chiesa pointed out that Justin Gaethje doesn't have much time left in his career. He's already hinted that retirement could be near, and that makes this window very short. If the UFC doesn't give him a title shot now, they might miss their chance altogether. On the other hand, Paddy Pimblett and Ilia Topuria are both young. They will almost certainly cross paths down the line. That fight isn't going anywhere, but Gaethje's chance is fading. For Chiesa, that's the main reason why the UFC should act now. Even if Gaethje beats Topuria and wins the title, Chiesa says it wouldn't be a bad thing for the UFC. Fans love Gaethje, and his reign, even if short, would still be exciting and meaningful. Meanwhile, someone like Arman Tsarukyan still needs one more big win before he's ready for a title shot. That leaves Gaethje as the clear and obvious choice. To Chiesa, the answer couldn't be more simple. Give Justin Gaethje the fight he deserves before it's too late. He's earned it not just through victories, but through years of putting his health on the line for fans around the world. And for the UFC, it's not only the right decision, it's the one that would create the most excitement. Not all fights get that kind of respect though. Matt Brown gave his take on Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, and he didn't hold back either. In his eyes, this fight doesn't matter. Sure, McGregor's name will always bring attention, but Brown argued that this matchup doesn't do anything for the sport itself. It doesn't change rankings, it doesn't create contenders, and it doesn't shake up divisions. To him, it's simply a spectacle designed to sell tickets and get people talking. Brown compared it to other fights that carry true meaning, like if John Jones fought Tom Aspinall for a title. That, he said, would be a game changer, something that would matter in the history of the sport. But McGregor vs. Chandler, it's just hype. Brown admitted that from the UFC's perspective though, it makes sense. Conor is still a star. People will always tune in to watch him fight, no matter who he's facing. That's the kind of buzz the UFC loves because it gets even casual fans talking. But for hardcore fans who care about rankings, divisions, and history, this fight means nothing. Brown said that fights like this are about star power, not competition. They bring attention, but they don't build the sport in a meaningful way. He admitted that if the fight does happen, he just hopes the undercard is strong enough to give serious fans something to enjoy. Because as far as the main event goes, he has no real interest in watching McGregor and Chandler square off. For him, it's entertainment, not sport, and he wants more from MMA than just another spectacle. The world of MMA never stops moving, and this week's stories prove just how much drama, passion, and unpredictability the sport always delivers. From Dana White's cigar post that sent fans into a frenzy, to Alex Pereira and Magomed-Ankalaev trading some of the most personal insults we've seen in years, the build-up to the next few months is already electric. At the same time, Khamzat Chimaev continues to shape his legacy, while hungry contenders are lining up for their chance at his belt. And then there's Justin Gaethje, a fighter who has given everything to this sport, now standing at what could be his final opportunity to claim UFC gold. What makes MMA so special is that it's not just about wins and losses, it's about the stories, the rivalries, and the legacies being built in real time. Whether it's legends trying to cement their place, rising stars demanding their shot, or controversial matchups that spark debate, fans always have something to get excited about. And the next chapter is right around the corner. If you love staying on top of the latest MMA desk news, rivalries, and fight breakdowns, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.